Akash, hi, good to have you with us. How have you been?
Hey Ashu, I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Akash, this is a session which is long in the making. It's finally good to have you with us. I've been looking forward to this session for a variety of reasons, right? We're going to discuss
Likewise,
all of that.
likewise. It's been
And,
likewise.
and, and
I've been looking forward to this.
and we're going to be talking about some exciting stuff, right? I think Zypp is doing some phenomenal work in the EV space, in the EV aggregation space, right? And I think in a way you're kind of evangelizing that this entire ecosystem, right? I think the world is becoming sensitive to the problems of environment, right? I think electric is coming and give us that beautiful option of sorts. The good part is that the business is very smartly adopting to it, right? While of course there are these sustainability aspects to it. This is also something which is making a lot of business sense, right? But there are still challenges, right? When you talk of an ecosystem, because it's a relatively new ecosystem, right? It's possibly come together very effectively in the last 18 to 24 months, right? The infrastructure is still coming together. There are some very very challenging aspects, right? As you scale in a country like India, right, with just so much of complexity. We're going to talk about all of that through the course of the session. But like I said, right, it's good to have you with us, and and I'm sure this session, by the end of it, we would have had a lot more clarity in terms of some of these operational aspects, right? And this should help many many stakeholders that are there in the ecosystem in general to understand some of these nuances, right? And how will the markets look like going forward, right? So with that, welcome Akash. It's good to have you with us. Before we
Thank you
do
so
this
much.
session, before we start, Akash, on your journey on Zypp, right, and all the effort that you put into create that, and the macro challenges, I'd love you to give us a quick round of introduction about yourself, and we zoom from there.
Absolutely. Great. So, it's been about 15 years that I've been, working in various companies, right? As a kid, I remember a dream was to build something large, right?
Sure.
To solve a large problem. I remember, when I was in my 11th or 12th class, I used to make logos that this is going to be my
Right.
automobile company. I still have vivid memories of that, right? but but never could start up something of my own because I my dad was a doctor. I did my engineering. I did my MBA. Passed out from IMT in 2008, and then typical corporate job had to be my go-to
Right.
area, right? So went to Dell, went to Airtel, went to Snapdeal, went to MobiQuick. About 11 years I spent in various companies actually learning how business
Right.
is done, right? My
Right.
clear focus was to basically do crazy hard work and at the same time kind of learn whatever I can in the areas
Right.
where I like marketing, finance, product, right? Tech,
Right.
those are areas that I like. And yeah, and come calling, as you rightly mentioned that the problem of pollution, the problem of fuel prices, the
Right.
problem that made me, kind of have sleepless nights for
Right.
about a week when I said that mobility can become electric, right?
Right.
And India, nobody was thinking about it. This is, I'm
Right.
talking about almost 5 years back when I was in
Right.
the conception phase of this idea, right?
Interesting.
So it's almost 5 years back. I was thinking that electric will happen. How I can be the catalyst,
Right.
solving the pitfalls in that. And yeah, there was no looking back since then.
Interesting, super. Akash, EV has been an exciting area, right? I think there is, and not just. I think this is becoming a global phenomenon, right? I think every country you kind of hear of where there's a fledgling startup ecosystem and fledgling innovation ecosystem. I think they're doing something or the other when it comes to doing something around EVs, right? Tesla is leading the entire pack, right? And that's had a very significant rub off in India as well. Uh, I'd love you to give us a landscape of what, for example, how does this ecosystem look like, right? There are quite a few people who are solving for batteries for that matter, right? Within batteries, there are a lot of people who are experimenting with, there's a lot of material sciences related work which is going on, right? There are other operating models as well, right? For example, rentals, replacements, so and so forth, right? OPEX models. There are quite a few things that are happening, right? I'd love you to give us a breakdown
Yeah.
in terms of, what's happening in that ecosystem, and then, then sort of, that leads us into, talk very specific stuff about it.
Sounds good. Yeah, so ecosystem is quite large. If you look at the entire EV, so first of all, it comes from the OEM, right, who's manufacturing the electric scooter.
Right.
Then comes right, who's making the batteries, the fast charging, the slow charging, the entire chemistry side of things. Then you talk about the entire charging infrastructure, right, which is key to make electric successful. Then
Right.
you talk about the entire spares, make the sales, kind of infra, which is again non-existent.
Right.
Then you talk about drivers and the consumer adoption cycles, right? Brands and how do you get consumers, the various business models around financing, fintech, rentals, leasing, bunch of them, right? So that's the next landscape. Then towards the end comes the recycling part of it, how you're recycling those batteries, whether there's a second life to it. Final aspect for me to complete the ecosystem is the entire carbon offset aspect, right? So you've saved tons and tons of carbon. Can you monetize them? Can you trade them? Can you give ESG support on them, right? So that for me is the entire ecosystem, right? Now obviously it's a sunrise industry. It is something that is going to happen over the next 10 to 15 years, where the entire transition has to happen from IC into electric, right? And something which is built over 100 years, you need some time to build the entire infrastructure, right? People, chemistries, technology, everything has to evolve, right? So which is what is the phase that we are in, right? While there's a huge adoption curve, while there's a huge push and pull, government is fully electric, right? Because it makes a lot of sense for the government, burning oil and the rising barrel prices affects our GDP quite a lot, right? If we move to electric, it helps, right? The second thing, the brands like an Amazon or a Zomato or a Big Basket, everyone wants to go electric, right? Because they have their own ESG norms. They understand that EVs at scale are going to be cost effective, right? But while there's push and pull, there are still a lot of unsolved pieces, and which is what we saw as an opportunity. So people didn't know which vehicle to buy, whether the vehicle has warranty or not, the batteries are stable or not, right? Then the brands also, who will put the money, right? None of these brands have ever bought assets on their books, right? So that's another problem statement which had to be solved. The financing rate, and then the entire aspect of running on ground, the maintenance aspect, the spare parts, the charging, the parking, all of that is something where we said there's an EV as a service player who is basically offering all this on a platter to anyone who wants to go electric. That in itself is a big business opportunity, and that led to the genesis of what we are doing.
Very interesting.
Sure.
Akash, now the other thing that I want to understand, right, especially in the B2B environment which Zypp is operating in, right? Of course, that's a lovely macro that you've given, right, in terms of the shift that is happening and the impact on say the economy at large, the sustainability we kind of spoke of, right? And we're going to talk about it a little more extensively, through the course of conversation a little later point, right? I want to specifically talk of the B2B opportunity that exists, right? Now, there are many reports that are out there, there are many figures out there, right? But a lot of this is not necessarily very clear, right? And that's largely because there's an existing market, there are existing infrastructure which is there. Now, this infrastructure is, in tier A markets being replaced by, electric, right? And there is an adoption which is happening, right? What is the larger market that we're kind of looking at, right? In a tier A market where the adoption is much faster, and of course tier 2 market is now kind of picking up. There are some other players that are also coming up in these markets, right? But what is the larger market that you are looking at, right? I mean, given that you are at a vantage point where you are talking to a lot of these, say for example, aggregators, right, who require this kind of infrastructure on a more consistent basis, and these are actually the growing players also in the market, right, which you are piggybacking on in the process, right? What is your view of how this market is going to shape up going forward?
Sure. Yeah. So interestingly, when we peg the market size, right, we look at the total addressable market, and then we talk about the serviceable addressable market, right? So when we saw the B2B logistics, right, and our target is small vehicles like a 2-wheeler or 3-wheeler, right? How I can shift all of that to go electric, because that is where the key intent is. Now, today in the country, there are 2 million people delivery who are riding 2-wheelers every day, and they are delivering goods, whether it's food, grocery, pharmacy, people, that's the market. So 2 million people today on the road using IC engine bikes and delivering goods. This number, because today the e-commerce market is a $30 billion market in India.
Right.
It's going to be $150 billion market in the next 4 years, right? What we are talking about is that by 2026, this 2 million people will go to 8 million people.
Right.
So we are talking about 80 lakh electric vehicles to be driven on road, delivering goods. And these are only 2-wheelers that I'm talking about. 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, everything will be an add-on, right? So when I look at this market size, right, it comes to a $26 billion opportunity.
Wow.
myself, right? This is only B2B logistics. I'm not even touching the B2C use case. I'm not even touching people using vehicles for last mile mobility. If I add that, right, where people want to go from metro to office, people want to go from home to, their workplace, right? That if I add on, it's another 70 billion, right? So put together, it's close to a 95 to $100 billion market of electrification that we are talking about, which is only in the services side, not the product sales. Product sales, which many people are doing, is separate on top.
Interesting. Now, Akash, can you talk about the B2B environment, right? Now, B2B is plagued with many of its challenges, right? Some of the challenges that you alluded to in your earlier points, right? Of course, we'll talk more about that in just a bit, right? But B2B comes with a very, very critical sort of problem, right? And the critical problem is the possibility of expansion of margins, right? Now, deliveries is a cost center, right? Which everybody, it's a necessary evil of sorts, right? There was a movement from IC engines to an electric environment, largely because of a lot of efficiency, right? And the cost saving, for example, that it brings in. Right. Going forward, now there are many players that are coming into the market, right? I mean, availability of vehicles is not necessarily a problem, right? There are a lot of ecosystems that, for example, are getting associated with this larger distribution, players, right? So Amazon, for example, will have say 5, 7, 10 vendors, right? Zypp could have the largest pie in the process, right? But there'll still be more players, right? What do you make out of this, right? Is this an opportunity which is while it's very exciting, right, from an overall adoption standpoint, do you believe that going forward, a lot of this will normalize and will essentially mean that the excitement from a return standpoint could possibly be looking a little slightly lesser, right, or predictable or commoditized in many ways? What's your sense of it? How do you see that?
See, Ashu very rightly pointed that the ecosystem is building. And what we want to talk about here is that, let's say 4 years down the line, everyone has electric vehicles are available, people are able to get charging support, people are just switching to electric. Now at this point in time, what makes sense for Zypp Electric, and which is how we are building this company, is to create huge defensibilities via technology, right? Now when I say that, how an electric vehicle is onboarded, there's a full tech-enabled process, there's IoT, there's scanning, there's a full QC process of onboarding the vehicle. That's where we put in a lot of tech. Then comes the driver onboarding, right? How the driver gets onboarded onto that vehicle, right? So there's an app-based scanning process, there's a a digital KYC process. Then the driver puts a security deposit in. It's an automated payment cycle for him, which is also electric. I would say digital, right? Which helps to get that. Then there's a digital contract also we sign with them. Then we talk about the entire fleet management aspect, right? So let's say an Amazon deploys 10,000 EVs, right? And a Zypp provides 10,000 EVs to Amazon. What will be different? One, Amazon doesn't have to do any capex, right? Zypp will put the capex. Second, Amazon will use that vehicle only for 5 to 7 hours, maximum 9 hours. Zypp can actually use that vehicle across multiple customers, because I'm serving Amazon also, I'm serving Zomato also, I'm serving Big Basket also, I'm serving the morning milk delivery company also, right? So I can utilize that vehicle for 18 hours using my technology platform, right? And hence be much lesser in cost versus Amazon deploying it himself, right? That's my pitch. And how I do that? By real-time tracking of the vehicle, by geofencing the vehicle, by tracking the behavior on who's riding this. I can immobilize the bike from the back end. I can actually put a theft buzzer, which is already there on the app. There's OEM priority support. Since I'm one of the largest buyers today of electric vehicle from the largest OEM in the country, there's a priority support to me. So I have the least downtime that I can commit to any of the vendors. If my vehicle is stuck, someone will go within 15 to 20 minutes, the vehicle will be up and running. Right. So which is not easy. Otherwise, most of the companies take 24 to 48 hours SLA to make things work.
Interesting.
And that's why we've seen crazy customer retention, right? We've seen customers are loving the way the people are coming on time, the way we are servicing them, the way we are ensuring that drivers are retained on the platform, right? Because one of the major problems again on the IC engine side is that everyone is fighting for that one driver who's having a petrol bike. Uber wants to pay him more, Zomato wants to pay him more, Shadowfax wants to pay him more, and hence the cost of delivery is not reduced. I am giving a fixed price. You pay me $50. I will deliver the goods for you anywhere in the city, right?
Right.
And with an intent that over the next couple of years, I'll be able to bring this cost down to 40, right? Because at scale, I'll be able to utilize my asset much better,
Sure.
right? So those are defensibilities that we put not only for the customers, also for drivers. If you see, right, driver partners, they don't have to put in any penny to onboard on the bike, right?
Right.
Then there's real-time earning visibility to them. The cross utilization that we do on the bike, right? There's predictability in the earnings because we have these B2B contracts. Maintenance is on a click of a button. These are things that we are creating all through technology.
Interesting. Very interesting. Akash, I have a bunch of questions there, right? But I'm gonna stop short of asking them, right? Because my sense is that while of course you're solving for it, as largely a logistics player, right? You're approaching it in a certain common way, right? My sense is, there are a lot of technology companies who are now kind of solving for automobile problem, right? A lot of features that you kind of talk about, of course, not on the commercial side of it, right? But on pretty much everything else, right? Be it the driver quality, be it the driving behavior, be it theft, be it efficiency of the vehicle, so on and so forth, right? Will eventually be tracked on the, as a feature of the automobile, which is out there for sale, right? But like I said, right, this is a topic for discussion. This is a discussion and a topic for a different time, right? So I'm not gonna probe you further as far as that is concerned. I'm going to move into a slightly different aspect of it, right? Now, that aspect is that of capex, right? This is a space which is very, very exciting, right? But one of the problems that has been highlighted, right, especially from an investor standpoint, is that the models that are coming to forth are essentially all very, very capex heavy, right? Irrespective of whatever you're doing. There are just about very few newer models which have started to sort of come in, where the financing companies now own the asset, right? And that is happening in 2 or 3 formats, right? But largely, when you are to deliver what you are to deliver in the format that you deliver, right? That essentially means that you'll have to go out and still create a part of that infrastructure, right? You cannot completely hive it off or do any of your partners, right?
Correct.
What's the sense of what's the sense of that one, right? Because it slows you down as a company, right? From the kind of growth that you aspire to. While you have a great product, you have a great piece of technology. Scaling not necessarily is a challenge because this is asset and it's asset-backed environment. When the banks do it or not is a different question, right? But it's an asset-backed environment. There's a certain predictability in ROIs that you can bring to the table because of the partnership that you have. I mean, honestly, this is a very secure environment, right? Of sorts. But the capex makes it scale inefficient, right? Is that a right way to look at it? Or are you solving for it in a very different way, which makes you far more efficient, far more leaner, and far more agile to go and expand much faster? What's your sense of it?
Yeah, no, capex has to happen, Ashu, because can you just a quick question? Would you imagine which is the largest logistics company in the world, right? Any names that ring your bell? I would call it FedEx.
UPS.
Absolutely, FedEx, right? So FedEx is one of the largest, right? How many trucks would FedEx own today? Any guess?
Much lesser than what we were anticipating.
So FedEx owns about 85,000 trucks, right? Okay. And they are the largest logistics company in the world, right? Sure. So what I'm trying to say is that when you are solving for the world, when you're solving for all the players, capex has to be brought in. And then the beauty is that if your capex is actually, getting fully paid in 10 months, then what's the point, right? The life of your capex, the life of your scooter, if it is 5 years, and you're utilizing that scooter's, the payment of that scooter is recovered in 10 to 12 months, then I think it's a very healthy business is what I want to call it. Still, what we've done, since we are a startup and we can't put in all that capex, I have deployed about 5,000 vehicles. I cannot put in all that capex, today. We have very creatively solved it. So all my scooters today are actually leased by HNIs. So there are people who invest in these assets. They buy 1 to 200 to 1,000 bikes, and then they lease it to me, right? All my assets are based like that. I pay them a healthy IRR return. So it's like a fintech model. You invest in mutual funds, you invest in real estate. Why don't you invest in a green electric scooter? And you get about 18 to 20% IRR on that investment. So all my assets are today based in like that. But to the investors, I would say that, and with those assets, if I'm able to add 18 to 20% IRR, if I'm able to recover the cost of the scooter fast, then if I am even investing in the assets, I think it will be a healthy investment, right? Because I'm just starting it, I'm just touching the surface, I'm still at 70-75% utilization, while my intent is to get to 90% utilization. When I get there, these capexes will feel like peanuts, right? Especially is what, the way that we want to beautify.
Right. Interesting. Akash, drivers is a huge problem, right? Now, you kind of, we've spoken of CapEx, you've spoken about asset sweat, right? ROI is essentially a function of asset sweat, right? And you like you said, right, you're operating at about 70-75%, and, you want to get to 90%. Your profitability is going to be different. The watches that you're going to have on your earnings is going to be, much different, much better, right? My sense is also with the way you are kind of cutting it, comes very clearly, right? That your corporate expenditures are not necessarily very high, right? You're kind of retaining it and very smartly, efficiently kind of building that stack, right? The biggest of all sort of elements in this, right? There are actually two. The first one is the availability of drivers, right? Now, this entire industry is plagued with that issue. I have at least known 5 such players, who are doing the business of aggregation, right? Who are, supplying it to either the brands directly, or they are putting it in larger logistic companies. Driver availability is the biggest of all issues, right? And the most inconsistent one, right?
Yeah.
There's little that you can do about it, right? Everything, all of your thesis depends really on that foundation. How are you solving for that? That's just human behavior which is coming into play, right? And very, very inconsistent. The other problem is that we have problem of temperature, right? We're not the perfect weather country in many ways, right? That adds to that complexity, right? How are you solving for that?
Yeah. So this is something that we deliberated quite a lot before we ventured into this in 2019. That how to basically have a fleet where the drivers are actually becoming a hook rather than you chasing. How you can create a service where the drivers start chasing, right? And that's very tough, right? That sounds quite, optimistic. but how that is happening today is that the biggest problem with the driver, community is that if they have the bike, right, then they are free to do what they want to, right? Obviously. And which is where all of this problem come in. The driver with the bikes are limited. But let's say if I have the bikes available, I have 5,000 bikes sitting in my yard. Will it be tough to find people who want to earn? That is not a problem in the country. We are a country where unemployment is an issue. In fact, that's a global issue, right? If I am able to provide a person 15,000 to 18,000 earning in a month, right? There are so many people who would line up, right, to come from smaller towns, tier 2, tier 3 towns, villages, come to the cities where we are delivering, get hooked onto the bike, and then start earning from day one, right? So that's the kind of service that we thought, that rather than fighting for people who have their own bikes, how about we have the bikes and we have people who want to earn for half a day, for a day, for 3 hours. You can pick my bike and you can deliver some shipments and you can make money, right? So that's the beauty that we are trying to again create slowly and steadily. Today, most of my bikes get used for 8 to 9 hours in a day. Come a time where I would want to use it for 14 hours a day, where I can give 3 hours for a milk delivery boy. For the rest of 9 hours, I can do grocery or e-commerce. In the night, I can give that peak, food shift to Zomato Swiggy driver for 6 hours, and then he can utilize the bike. That's how the technology is going to play a role. That's why the investment in these assets is important, so that you can guarantee that service, right? Without any price infusion or those surge charges. Why are there surge charges? Because there is a limited supply. Absolutely. If I know that this is the demand and I have all the supply for it, then you can kill all the surge charges, which is what we are trying to do here.
Interesting. Now, Akash, there's something very interesting happening on the competition front, right? Now there are a bunch of players who come in and actually trying to cut this aggregation market in a different form, right? Without, of course, naming them. I know, I'm sure you understand the ones that I'm talking about, right? Now, while you have built this infrastructure and you are taking a lot of this to, some of these plans, right? Be it the e-com players, be it, the logistic players and so forth, right? You're basically making infrastructure available. So you're essentially an infrastructure first company, right? In many ways. These players are actually going out and aggregating opportunities, right? They're cutting it at task level, where, the driver availability becomes the second thing, right? So over the availability of the vehicle becomes the second thing, right? And then they're opening up these opportunities to drivers, to workforce, right? To come in and very quickly sort of absorb, right? Now, because they're doing that, right? And the models are very, very simple. They're taking a certain percentage cut in the overall earnings of the driver, right? That's very different from what you are, right? I'm going back to my earlier question that I asked, right? that just makes it so much more complicated for you, right? Because here you are sitting with the infrastructure. So you're doing driver plus infrastructure. There they are, where they are leaving it to the drivers, priorities, whims, fancies, to pick and choose the tasks that they want to do, right? And they could do it with an IC engine, their own vehicle. They could do it with their leased vehicles, and so forth, right? Now that is a very different kind of shift, right? That is also a model which moves just so much more faster, right? Because the tasks are very clearly defined. There are steps in the process. They're infrastructure less in many ways, right? So they're not really, getting into the complexities of that entire thing, right? How do you see that, right? Because, like I said, right, the B2B environment will eventually cut down on the pricing, as this becomes more efficient, as this becomes more predictable, right? The abnormal profit zone, as we call it in economics, right, will go away at some point in time. How do you see that? Because some of these guys are doing a land grab much faster than how you would possibly do that, right? With your infrastructure or with somebody else's infrastructure, right? How do you see that aspect playing out?
No, so see, I mean, that has been done by, the two largest cab aggregators in the country, right? They went left, right, and center. They acquired people. They, garnered the customers and the drivers, and they were, doing quite well. But have you booked an Uber or an Ola recently?
Yeah. I haven't.
Yeah, if you book it, at least there would be 4 times that you will have to get through cancellations, and then you'll finally get a cab, right? Now that's what happens when you don't own the asset, right? Now you're fighting for that person who will, at his mercy, pick or reject the drive, right? Now you can still do that when you're doing a B2C business, right? It's fine. A customer, when there are multiple customers, some are getting served, some are not getting served, it's okay. But if you're delivering for a company whose shipments are lying in the warehouse and they're dependent on you to ensure that those will be picked up today and the customer is waiting, right? You can't depend on a person who will either switch on or switch off or will accept that ride or not. That's what my thing is. That it will work for a certain time. It will, have people burn marketing dollars for some time. But after that, for the consistency of the service that a B2B player wants, you might have to invest into such a service like the way that we are playing, or you have to actually throw a lot of dollars to ensure that the driver stuck on your platform. And we've seen that across the board, right? Today, for the largest food aggregation companies, their entire delivery fleet changes in 4 months. There's about 20 to 25% attrition.
Right.
Monthly, right? Now, in that scenario, you are never able to make money on your deliveries because your delivery cost is never coming down. It's rather with the fuel prices, it's going to go up only. Right? Those are things that we realize for the future are important to be solved, and hence we are playing it slightly differently.
Right.
Come a time when I am the largest player today, right? Let's say, and I have 100,000 bikes. I can actually play then, the card which you are saying that let people, pick that card. But first, let's get there. Is my part.
Interesting. I like the way how you're prioritizing it. I think that that commitment and hygiene is just so much more important in a B2B environment, right? And I think the B2B companies, especially in the tech ecosystem, right? I think thrive on experience. I think that experience is something which is just so much more important. NPS plays a very critical role in the entire scheme, right? And I think you kind of substantiate that in some form or way, right? Now, Akash, the other thing that becomes very critical in this entire scheme of things is maintenance, right? Now, we are seeing this entire rage of sorts, which is building against EVs, right? For a variety of reasons, right? While people have kind of accepted EVs, for their personal travel, with open arms, right? This is not something which we've seen in the B2B ecosystem more, right? But the rage is out there, right? The performance is becoming inconsistent. Battery is something which is very significant. Charging infrastructure again is a very, very significant issue, right? You couldn't ask for an industry which is as difficult, right? ICs have had that infrastructure getting built for the last 30, 40 years, right? A lot of the entire stakeholders play is kind of very clear in terms of who's going to do what, who's not going to do what, right? That's very, very difficult in this ecosystem, right? So especially when you're sitting with the kind of infrastructure that you are, right? On one side, you have your HNIs, ultra HNIs, who you've hyped it off as an asset that's going to generate a certain ROI for them, right? And then you have these delivery partners who are extremely particular and peculiar about how they want their deliveries to sort of happen, right? You're essentially somewhere in the middle managing this expectation, right? Makes your job very, very difficult, right? What do you make out of the infrastructure which is there right now? So much of which is required, right? And honestly speaking, the way I look at it is, while at a policy level there's a shift which is happening, right? At a capex level, there's very little which is happening, right? VCs who been active in this space, right? Who've been evangelizing it globally. I don't necessarily see them biting into the possibility and the opportunities in India for some reason, right? Other infrastructural institutions are again going very, very slow when it comes to a lot of this, right? How do you see that, right? I'd love to understand, how are you navigating through these challenges, right? Like I said, and your complexity is much more challenging because you have both the sides to sort of answer for.
Correct. No, makes sense. Absolutely. I think that's where the fun lies. When we know that there are complexities, and the good part is that we've been solving these complexities now for the last 3.5, 4 years, right? So a lot of it has come together. Today, there's an appetite for investors to deploy close to 1,000 to 2,000 bikes on the Zypp platform every month, right? So we've gone through that journey where now HNIs are ready to invest a lot more with Zypp, right? Because they've been getting consistent returns for the last 3 years, right? And there's more appetite. The word of mouth has flown out. The second key thing which has happened, right, is on the infrastructure side, we've partnered with the top, charging and swapping companies in the country, right? Because we know that everything will not be done by ourselves. How about we partner with the right companies who can actually, build with us, grow with us, rather than we doing everything. Let's help create those businesses also, right? So we are, helping charging companies, swapping companies partner with us. Then when you talk about the entire OEM aspect, we are also developing OEMs, being one of the largest buyers, to give them huge demand support, right? So a company which has opened a factory and they are waiting for a B2C buyer, we go in and say that we want 2,000 bikes every month, right? Make them for us. And there are companies who are just ready to do that only for us. They don't need any other business, right? So those are the things that we are trying to do. And then to the customers, and the drivers, it is about consistency. It is about giving them support. It is about giving them visibility, and it is about, solving the SLAs at the right time, at the right place, right? So those are things that has made things, I won't say that things are very easy. Obviously, the ecosystem is still coming in. While I have an appetite to deploy 2,000 bikes in a month, I'm getting 1,000, 1,500 today. I would want to grow to 3,000 bikes a month, and possibly 1 or 2 more OEMs can join the bandwagon. Charging infrastructure is the chicken and egg, but again, we are going deeper, hub and spoke model, because B2B is a hub and spoke model where we can deploy it at all the hubs of a Zepto or a Big Basket and grow from there, right? So those are things that we've done. The good part is that, Ashu, after doing all of this, we are, an EBITDA positive for the last 2 months.
Interesting.
Not burning dollars. If we are doing this with efficiency, with very limited capital, then it makes a lot of, and that's what I want to prove to those global VCs who are not biting the bullet, considering that there'll be a lot of cash burn. I don't think that there'll be a crazy cash burn. It's about building that infra and then utilizing it better. So I
kind of agree with you, Akash, on that one, right? And I think if you can weather this, the early sort of a phase, I think a lot of this is going to start to look very, very different, right? I think it's just a matter of time. I think none of us can claim to know how the markets are going to play out, right? But I think the markets are becoming so much more sensitive around all of these things, right? And I think consumers today are also, you have that possibility to communicate, right? I think from a phase where the consumer wanted everything for literally the cheapest of price, right, out there, I think they're ready to pay for that, that sensitivity, right? That contribution of sorts, right? And I think my sense is it will all start falling in place, right? I think it's just a matter of time, right? And I think the other thing is, which is just so much more critical, right? We've missed speaking on this one through this course of conversation, right? But you're actually going out and you are, buying the number of vehicles that you are, right, from an OEM. I think there are substantial, pricing benefits that you get in the process as well, right? And I think that just improves your payback periods and the efficiency, right? And I think while we continue to rave of the fact that, B2B is going to be a difficult environment, which it is, it will stabilize at some point in time, right? I think eventually brands are going to need the kind of consistency that you are. There is no reason whatsoever for them to open themselves up to vagaries of 5, 7, 8, 10, 20 players, right? Eventually it will limit down to just about 1 or 2 players. And I think that's where, and I think that's till then it's just about being patient, is how I kind of see it. Akash, towards the end of a conversation, right? I'd love to know what are the next 2 years like. You've been on a rampage of expansion. You've literally with Zypp defined some of the rules of the game, right? In many ways, you made yourself lean in the process, right? So you started as a different company. You pivoted into, with various permutation combinations, you become far leaner than what you were. You talk of EBITDA, you talk about profitability, you talk of the technology integration that you've done, right? You've come out a long, long way, right? What are the next 2.5 years like? I would have loved to ask you a 5-year question. I think it's just too long in time, right? And especially with what we experienced in COVID. What are the next 2 years like? And what are the tier 2 plans, right? Because tier 2 is something which is becoming very exciting. I recently had a chance of speaking with a founder in Surat, right? Who's building similar infrastructure, right? Like yourself. So I see a lot of such smaller players coming up in tier 2 cities, who are solving for those regions. What are the plans there? I'd love to understand that.
Yeah. No, I think we, over the next 2 to 3 years, I think the entire national footprint is what we are also gunning for, right? While we are doing this mostly in the large cities, Delhi, NCR, Bangalore, sure. But I think our fun would be when we are available across the country. And right. For me, the next 2 to 3 years is to hit actually the key markets, right? 25 to 30 right. cities is what I'm gunning for, right? To be very frank, the delivery market exists in close to 100 plus cities, right? Where it is larger. I would want to hit the top, 30 to 50 cities of there first, then going deeper into. And I'm not fussed of, players who are doing into tier 2, tier 3 smaller cities, because, I know that once we get there, we'll either partner with them, or we will basically give them more wings. If they have built the infra, then it's all about, Zypp helping them and, grow. That's because I'm a man of partnerships. I believe a lot in the ecosystem. If someone is doing it, how we can help it. Maybe they are doing it manually. I've seen multiple players come into this ecosystem, put some 20 bikes, 50 bikes, 60 bikes without any technology support, without any tracking, without any, driver retention tools that they could have built through tech and then vanish away, right? So I would want possibly create a tech offering for all these smaller players who can use the Zypp platform and still grow, right? So I think it's all about making the country go green. Our mission is mission zero emission, and we continue to work towards that, and ensure that 100% of last mile goes electric by 2025 or 2027.
Brilliant. Akash, it's a very cliched last section of every conversation that I do, right? But I think it just becomes so much more important in this particular conversation, right? This is that part where we talk of learning suggestions that any founder wants to give out, right? It's just so much more important because every journey is very unique, right? You have your own set of learnings. You have your own set of dealing with regulations. For example, I think regulation again is a huge issue, right? And in your issue, that just is so much more pertinent in many ways, right? There are no there is no law of the land, right? That was applicable when you possibly started, right? It's all coming together now. You possibly acting and engaging with the policymakers at a very deeper and more integrated format, right? Helping them understand the operating complexity so much better, right? Any suggestions that you would want to give out to fellow founders, to other stakeholders out there, right? What would that be? Which has been of your which has been unique to your journey. I'd love to end this conversation with that.
Sure. Yeah, so I think a couple of things that I have learned in the last 4.5 years of building this journey is that if you are staying in the game, then only you'll be able to win it, right? So it was very important for us to not lose, and with whatever limited capital that we had, I always wanted to ensure that we have enough cash flow or enough cash in the bank so that we could weather the storm, right? Whether it was COVID or no COVID, we were very closely tracking our finances to stay afloat, right? And that helped us, right? If you've weathered 2 COVIDs, I think that talks a lot about mobility businesses, staying on the same course and still, growing. So manage that very well. Second thing is obviously the team, right? As you build the team, you need to build strengths in the team, and you need to find the right people to support you in this journey. The sooner you find them, the better it is, and the faster it is that you grow, right? So those are the two things that I would give out. That those were my learning. I think I wasn't perfect in both of these things early on, but as I started learning over the first 2 years of my journey that how important are these two elements, I then I became more thick-skinned for managing. Yeah.
Interesting. Akash, a terrific session, right? How I want the session to go on, right? Because there's just so many more nuances, right? India is not an easy market to solve for. And when you talk about mobility, I think that the challenges are almost 5x, right? While of course you've tried to handle the driver challenge in a very subtle and a soft way, right? That's a very, very significant challenge, right? You cannot have one unique or horizontal strategy when it comes to building for a market like India, right? And like I said, right, mobility is just so much more complex at many levels, right? You have too many moving parts, right, in a little sense, which requires so much of focus, right? But it has been an absolutely spectacular conversation, Akash. I'd love to have you with us much sooner, where we would love to, this is like part one, season one of that conversation, right? I'd love to do a season 2 and a season 3, because this is a space which is very, very interesting. This is a space which is picking up phenomenally well. The sensitivity in the consumer. I think those are some very critical aspects, right? And for anybody to not be excited, I think is not a fair sort of a thing, right? I think it's going to play out in a matter of time. I think in general we're becoming sensitive towards more sustainable options, right? And I think the possibility of being the single largest player is just so large. There's no reason not to be excited. Akash, we wish you all the very best. We wish you all the very best, and look forward to having you with us much sooner. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Ashu, and I really enjoyed your questions. I think the kind of research that you've done on the entire business, kudos to you, because I do a lot of these, but I don't get such critical questions to answer. So really enjoyed this conversation and would love to do this again.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.